This is a mirror of Bikerman's video, a link to his channel in the description. I am only doing the voiceover of his text. The second part will follow. Portrait of Dishonesty. First episode. William Lane Craig. Why he should not be debated by senior scientists and academics, but instead left to us amateurs to deal with. All scholarship depends to some extent on personal honesty. Even science, which includes mechanisms to weed out personal bias and other factors which can distort or misinform, can be temporarily derailed by a person who deliberately sets out to mislead. Misreporting or misleading is, therefore, arguably the most serious offense possible in academia, and even when the error is made in good faith, a substantial allegation of dishonesty would mean the end of career for the accused. Because of this, academics are reluctant to even think that a colleague could be guilty of deliberate dishonesty, let alone make such a charge publicly. William Lane Craig has relied upon this reluctance throughout his academic career. In this short video, I will highlight several examples of deliberate dishonesty on the part of William Lane Craig. In brackets, I wish to be quite clear that I am not saying that these are mistakes or errors. I am saying that they are lies told by someone who knew them to be so. Close the brackets. This willingness to lie on the part of William Lane Craig is the reason why he should not be engaged in debate by prominent academics, scientists, or other thinkers. The very act of entering into debate with William Lane Craig grants an implicit assumption of personal honesty. What, after all, could possibly be gained by debating someone who felt free to lie to suit their thesis? Some people have said that William Lane Craig should not be debated because this gives undeserved credibility to his arguments. But whilst this is true, it misses the more fundamental point that such debate allows William Lane Craig to present himself as an honest academic, a claim which is, as I will demonstrate here, entirely false. 1. Setting the scene. Those familiar with debates featuring William Lane Craig may have noticed that he nearly always speaks first in such debates. This is not a result of mere chance. His debates usually take place in venues which could be said to be sympathetic to his arguments, and William Lane Craig makes sure he exploits home advantage to the max. A quotation. Craig took part in the planning from the start. He insisted on particular details of the debate's format, down to the timing of each speech and the placement of the clocks. In brackets, probably the most important technique to master, he has told me about debating, is managing the clocks, close the brackets. Craig made sure that he would go first. He also suggested the topic, which bears on the subject of Harris's latest book, The Moral Landscape, a footnote giving a link at the end of the video. Obviously, there is no issue with a debater trying to ensure favorable terms for their argument. Speaking first in a debate is undoubtedly an advantage. It allows the speaker to focus on their own points without having to worry about rebutting those of their opponent. So I would expect any debater to try to grab first slot where possible. The problem comes with how William Lane Craig uses this advantage. He persistently abuses the advantage by misrepresenting the views of his opponent before they can present them, and by seeking to dictate what his opponent must establish in order to succeed. As Sam Harris blogged after his debate with William Lane Craig, a quotation. While I believe I answered, in brackets, or preempted, close the brackets, all of Craig's substantive challenges, I've received a fair amount of criticism for not rebutting his remarks point for point. Generally speaking, my critics seem to have been duped by Craig's opening statement, in which he presumed to narrow the topic of our debate. Those who expected me to follow the path Craig cut in his opening remarks don't seem to understand the game he was playing. He knew that if he began, in inverted commas, here are 5 bogus points that Sam Harris must answer if he has a shred of self-respect, close the inverted commas, this would leave me with a choice between delivering my prepared remarks, which I believed to be crucial, or wasting my time putting out the small fires he had set. If I stuck to my argument, as I mostly did, he could return in the next round to say, in inverted commas, you will notice that Dr. Harris entirely failed to address points 2 and 5. It is no wonder because they make a mockery of his entire philosophy. A footnote with a link at the end of the video. 2. A new twist on an old fallacy. Whenever possible, William Lane Craig likes to assert that his own arguments are in line with the general consensus, whilst those of his opponent are fringe at best. He will often quote work by prominent scientists or philosophers in support of his arguments to add weight to his assertion. These assertions are always suspect, frequently false, and sometimes in direct opposition to the stated views of the authors of the work in question. It might be possible to argue that this is simply error rather than dishonesty, were it not for the fact that William Lane Craig often repeats the same assertions after being made aware of the error.
I presuppose that our background knowledge includes a good deal of information about the historical Jesus, including his radical personal claims, his teaching, and his crucifixion. In so doing, I stand squarely in the mainstream of New Testament scholarship regarding the historical Jesus. The vast majority of scholars do not think that the Gospels are of the genre of myth, but rather of historical biography.
The Jesus Seminar is the largest group of Bible scholars to have considered the authenticity of the New Testament, comprising around 200 academics representing a range of academic specializations within Bible scholarship. Whilst I would not claim that its findings represent a consensus across the entirety of Bible scholarship, it certainly represents a large and important view within that community. The seminar concluded that a large majority, 82%, of the words attributed to Jesus in the New Testament could not have been said by him. A footnote with a link at the end of the video. William Lane Craig's claims are, therefore, not just suspect, but in fact completely bogus.
Indicate why, in the words of Jakob Kramer, an Austrian specialist in this field, by far most exegetes hold firmly to the reliability of the biblical statements concerning the empty tomb.
What did Jacob Kramer last say on this matter, in brackets before his death in 2010? A quotation. In inverted commas. From the differing and in part unharmonizable, even contradictory, data about the discovery of the empty tomb, it can at most be inferred that the tomb on Easter morning was probably empty, but nothing more. A footnote with a link at the end of the video. The above is a translation from the German by William Lane Craig.
In 2003, Arvin Board, Alan Guth, and Alexander Vilenkin were able to prove that any universe which has on average been in a state of cosmic expansion throughout its history cannot be infinite in the past, but must have a past space-time boundary. In 2003, Arvin Board, Alan Guth, and Alexander Vilenkin were able to prove that any universe which has on average been in a state of cosmic expansion cannot be infinite in the past, but must have a past space-time boundary. But the Bohr-Guth-Vilenkin theorem is independent of any physical description of that moment. Their theorem implies that the quantum vacuum state, which may have characterized the early universe, cannot be eternal in the past, but must have had an absolute beginning. Even if our universe is just a tiny part of a so-called multiverse composed of many universes, Their theorem requires that the multiverse itself must have had an absolute beginning.
The paper actually states that, in inverted commas, almost all inflationary models of the universe will reach a boundary in the past, meaning our universe probably doesn't exist infinitely into the past, close the inverted commas. Moreover, the paper describes classical physics and does not apply, as William Lane Craig states, to other multiverses or to a quantum fluctuation event. William Lane Craig knows this because it has been pointed out many times. Lest any doubt remain, here physicist Sean Carroll settles the matter by asking Alan Guth, one of the three authors.
Now, you might think that, there's a theorem by Alan Guth and Arvin Bourdet and Alex Vilenkin that says the universe had a beginning. I've explained to you why that's not true, but in case you don't trust me, I happen to have Alan Guth right here, one of the authors of the Bourdet-Guth-Vilenkin theorem. Alan, what do you say? He says, I don't know whether the universe had a beginning. I suspect the universe didn't have a beginning. It's very likely eternal, but nobody knows. Now, how in the world can the author of the Bourdet-Guth-Vilenkin theorem say the universe is probably eternal for the reasons I've already told you? The theorem is only about classical descriptions of the universe, not about the universe itself.
In order to rescue the alternative of chance, therefore, its proponents have been forced to adopt the remarkable hypothesis that there exists an infinite number of randomly ordered universes, composing a sort of world ensemble or multiverse of which our universe is but a part. Somewhere in this infinite ensemble, finely tuned universes will appear by chance alone. And we happen to be in one such world.
This is complete misrepresentation, and William Lane Craig knows it. Multiverse theory first arose in quantum physics as a possible alternative interpretation of the Schrödinger wave function collapse. Physicist Hugh Everett proposed the many-world interpretation in which every possible outcome of a particular wave function actually occurs, each in a separate world. This has nothing to do with any notion of fine-tuning. A more recent multiverse theory arises from inflation theory as a response to a question proposed by Alex Vilenkin. In brackets, yes, the same guy William Lane Craig repeatedly cites with unquestioning acceptance when it suits him, close the bracket. Vilenkin wondered how the early inflation of the universe could have stopped. The conclusion he reached was that inflation continues in different regions of the universe, yielding an eternal multiverse. The suggestion that physicists concocted multiverse theories to get around the fine-tuning problem is just an outright lie, which William Lane Craig knows fine well.